Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. Today we have the Happiest Millionaire. Because when you think of millionaires, you think, hey, I want to watch a movie about how happy they are. So I want to make sure that they're happy. I want to figure out what it is that makes a millionaire happy. It's well, this movie actually I don't even think it really addresses that at all. It's very just a very strange name. By the way, this is from 1967. It's 2 hours and 49 minutes long, and yes, I watched every minute of it. This thing is so long, about a half an hour, about an hour and a half into it, about an hour and 37 minutes into it, you get an intermission. It's only 2 minutes long because we're not in a movie theater. But they literally keep the intermission in there for about 2 minutes, and longer. If this was being seen in a theater in 1967, yeah, you'd get up, you go to the bathroom, and maybe refill your jujubes or goobers or popcorn or whatever, and then you come back and sit down. But yeah, this is also kind of the follow up to Mary Poppins. From what a friend told me when I told him I was going to be watching this, it that didn't really fly as well, pardon the pun, as well as Mary Poppins did. Might have been due to the length. I don't know. Um, it's you want to think that maybe it's going to be magical at some point because the characters in it, led by Fred McMurray, you might know him from. Crap! I knew it, and it just went out of my head. Boys, not the boys. Uh, anyway, Fred McMurray. If you know the name, if you know the face, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Anyway, I could tap it and find out, but actually, the thing is, that's the problem with this thing. You don't know what the focus of this movie is really about. It's based on a play that's based on a book. The Sherman Brothers did all the music and lyrics to all the songs. There's lots of singing, lots of dancing, and it's good. It's fun. The first person we meet though is Tommy Steele, and you think this is the main character. He shows up for a job in Philadelphia in 1916, and I don't know. He shows up at a millionaire's house. He's fresh off the boat from Ireland, and he walks in, and everybody's like, "Hey, you sure you're here for this job? I don't think you're here for this job. You don't want this job because the last guy left pretty quickly, and somehow he ends up doing the work of a butler, which he was there to be hired for, before anybody ever talks to him about the work. They're just assuming that he is now the butler. It could have been a horror film where he's sort of just trapped in a house doing chores for these people with no way out because he's constantly being put upon to do things for everybody, and no one ever addresses him as anything. He's never hired, at least at the beginning of the film, even though he's done a good, a couple hours worth of work at that point. It's a little unsettling, especially considering that the reason why everybody leaves is that father, or Mr. Drexel. Well, that's not Drexel. Mr. Biddle. Sorry, Dexter Biddle. It's name. It's wife's name. And anyway, Mr. Biddle, he runs a Christian boxing camp, I guess. Like a Bible camp, in his in a room where he teaches men how to box, and also he keeps alligators, a lot of alligators. And the first time we see him, he's running into the room saying that George bit him. And we find out that it's an alligator, and a pretty big alligator too. There's lots of little alligators, and they're real too. It's not like it's a prop or it's like a some sort of foam thing or whatever it is. They're literally handling real alligators in this thing. The main actors trying to control a good 6 foot long alligator with a rope while singing and dancing. That's Tommy Steele. He plays John Lawless, which is the toughest name for a man who doesn't look the least bit tough. But yeah, it's okay. We deal with Tommy, who is Tommy Steele is John Lawless, the butler, and he's, by the way, he's talking to us. He breaks the fourth wall a number of times, and actually he does that until he gets caught by Father, who's like, who are you talking to? So there's a little bit of magic in this, a little bit of, I don't know, otherworldliness. I mean, John is no Mary Poppins, but he seems to have an otherworldly perspective where he's talking to us, the audience, realizing that he's in a musical, I think. Or he doesn't realize he's in a musical. He just breaks into song every so often. That's very Irish tinged. And he, I don't know, you think it's going to follow him. Then it shifts over to, Father, Mr. Biddle. And then it focuses on his daughter. I gotta remember why my brain is blanking here. Leslie Ann Warren plays Cordelia. Leslie Ann Warren, looking like a wee little teenager in this, and or maybe early 20-something, playing a teenager who is raised by a very overbearing father who's not mean or anything. He's just strong-willed, and he's taught all of his children, including her two brothers, how to fight. And anytime anybody comes a courting or makes gets a little fresh with her, they usually leave in pain because she's knocked them out. Just give them a good left hook, and yeah, she's not really good at relating to people. So when she gets a chance to go to a big party in New York, ooh, well, what's happening here? She has no idea how to deal with boys at all, or men. And she gets help from her roommate, I guess, I guess she's at boarding school, maybe. I don't know. I can't tell if she's in college or high school. I don't know. I don't understand this. By the early 1900s, if you're not married by the time you're 20, you're an old maid, I would think. So that leads to a big song and dance with the two girls, which is actually kind of fun. But then the movie's not afraid to be goofy and silly and just out there. The Sherman Brothers lend themselves to creating that kind of atmosphere with their music, but it just sort of meanders. She meets a guy at the party who likes her because she's a little bit different, a little bit odd. And that's John Davidson, by the way. If you don't know who John Davidson is, the only reason I know who John Davidson is because I watched That's Incredible in the 80s. If you don't know what That's Incredible is, you are very young, and you should probably look it up. It's a Happy 4th of July. So yeah, it's what they fall in love. So the story is about her and her courtship with this guy, and all he can talk about is cars. Convertible Rolls Royce that he drives around in, and that's all he can talk about. It's all his main fascination. He doesn't have anything interesting about himself. It's just that he loves cars, and all he can talk about is what the future of cars might have, and yeah, he wants to go to Detroit. And one of the scariest things, I'm not going to give you all the entire story. I mean, the movie is a good 50-some years old, but the thing is, one of the very last shots that they showed during the credits is like an artistic rendering of the car heading to Detroit, and it's just industrial smokestacks just choking smoke into the sky while everything else is red, and it doesn't. And maybe in 1967 that might have been like, oh, good industry and America working, and now you look at it and that's terrifying. That's just that's apocalypse right there. So anyway, yeah, it's a chock full of classic actors who've been acting. I mean, Fred MacMurray's first role was an extra in 1929 for something, I don't even know what it is, but Yeah, there's just so many different people in this, but yeah, you just have to watch. The main people that you matter are Leslie Ann Warren, John Davidson, Fred McMurray, Greer Garson is his wife, mother, and also Tommy Steele. So and there's the only real conflict other than Gators getting loose is when John Davidson. By the way, his name is Angie, a man named Angie, but his mother calls him Ange. She's a very classy New York woman who speaks with a French accent. So yeah, she kind of believes that they're a little bit too good for this Philadelphia family, and she kind of works to undermine their marriage. So the only real conflict that is kind of not dark, but it's a little bit more intense, happens because of the mother-in-law, the future mother-in-law, does not approve, and she's real snooty about it, and she's not afraid to share that opinion that she is better and her family is better and her son is better than everybody else in the room. So that leads to some conflict between Angie and Cordelia. So sounds like a lesbian love story, but it's not. Anyway, so yeah, that's The Happiest Millionaire, and I don't know who. I guess Fred McMurray is the happiest millionaire. He's happy. In the end, he's happy. I guess it's a happy ending, but the fact that he's a millionaire, I mean, everybody in this story is rich for the most part, except for the servants, which, John is, and the Irish maid, and there's other maids they go through left and right because they don't realize they're getting a job working with alligators. At one point, the alligators freeze. Somebody left the windows open and in the wintertime, and they're literally frozen in blocks of ice, and they're just tapping away at them trying to thaw them out, and they assume they're dead, and then they turn out to not be dead, and that causes trouble. And also go through another maid. They don't die, they just run away screaming. So yeah, that's the excitement of The Happiest Millionaire. It is a very odd choice, and I noticed there's a lot of other recommendations when you look at it on IMDb. There's a number of other films that star each of these actors with the same kind of art style. It's still 1960s, and it's also all Disney. They just cranked the heck out of these things back in the day. So it's a little bit odd. We're probably going to get more like this eventually, but they are currently not on Disney Plus. I looked them up, and they're not. Or at least they're not on my list. But yeah, it's a very we're in for more movies like this. Hopefully they're not almost 3 hours long, because I mean, yeah, it has its fun moments. There's a few laugh out loud moments I actually found humorous. I don't recall them anymore, but not like really hilarious. It's just funny, and the music's good, but it doesn't stand out. It's not Mary Poppins. Sorry guys, but Mary Poppins is a unique animal, unique beast. Not that she's a beast, but I mean it's a unique film. So whatever you think you're going to get with this film, you're probably not if you haven't seen it before. If you've seen this before and you're old enough to see this back in the 60s, you know what you're in for. But if you haven't seen it before and you expect something from this, it's going to be a little bit different. Of course, I've already given away most of it. And it goes on for way too long. I was just looking for some kind of focus. Just, who is this about? To me, I mean, honestly, it works out to if this was a comedy, you could break this into 8 episodes of a series, and they'd be a half an hour each, and you'd still get this entire story, and you might have logical breaks that would make this into a little soap opera, maybe. But as a movie, oh my gosh, this is not Lord of the Rings. It should not be almost 3 hours long. So anyway, that's my opinion on The Happiest Millionaire. Let's talk about tomorrow's episode. Let's pick it.
587.
All right, 587. We're still into those, huh? Oh, really high up. Come on. Ah, okay. Well, we have seen the first one of these in a previous episode, and we finally get the sequel. This is about other rich people, but this is much more modern. I don't know if this is the 90s or early 2000s, but we are about to see the sequel to the original Princess Diaries. We're going to see Princess Diaries 2, Royal Engagement. Looks like Anna's getting married, maybe. I have not seen it. But I'm guessing with a title like Royal Engagement, somebody is getting married or attempting to. So that's what we're watching next. Princess Diaries 2, Royal Engagement on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that.